Just ahead, a look at the results of our latest Bear Facts poll and how the information is giving us insight into the impact of the outbreak in our community.
It was amazingly horrific. It sounded like a bomb went off when the lightning hit the top of the building.
That fiery wake-up call for some people on the Northeast side sent them running for their lives. It also left them looking for a new place to call home.
There's a decent chance for severe weather across a good portion of the state of Texas because of a cool front. But what about here in San Antonio? I've got a look ahead to our storm chances coming up.
Live from KSAT 12, the news at noon starts right now.
8 families are trying to pick up the pieces of their lives after a devastating fire on the northeast side overnight.
It destroyed an entire apartment building on Salado Creek Drive near Nacogdoches Road. Katrina Weber reports firefighters believe it was started by lightning.
The flames had a heated and hearty head start on San Antonio firefighters. They quickly overtook a building at the Villa Rodriguez apartments from the top down.
Lightning struck apparently the roof, yes. Yeah, and on our arrival, the fire was through the roof, so it was pretty advanced.
While the flames commanded attention, firefighters also worried about human lives. The building in the 3400 block of Salado Creek Drive was home to 17 people, including 3 children.
It was amazingly horrific. It sounded like a bomb went off when the lightning hit the top of the building.
Pete Venegas happened to be awake around 2 this morning watching television when everything around him suddenly changed.
It just blew the electronics and it was smoking, so I said, there's a fire here.
He and his girlfriend quickly got dressed and left. They found out some of their neighbors had done the same. Even with all the noise from the lightning strike and smoke detectors, not everyone got up and out on their own. For some, it took a wake-up call from police and firefighters.
Thank goodness we were able to evacuate everybody in a timely manner and no one was injured.
One person's pet was missing. Almost everything else people owned was damaged. Venegas later managed to salvage just a few things.
We're healthy. We didn't get burned up.
Firefighters say between the apartment complex and the American Red Cross, most of the people are getting help in finding new homes. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
New at noon, a local man loses his hand but keeps his life after falling asleep on some train tracks. Police say around 7:30 this morning they were called to the area near Dimmitt Street and South Presa Street. Officers say the man was on the tracks when the train was approaching. The conductor tried to stop before reaching the man but wasn't able to. The man ended up getting caught underneath the train, and firefighters at the scene had to work to get the train to move so they could take the man to the hospital.
Also new this noon, a motorcycle is dead after crashing into another driver on the north side. Police say that the man on the motorcycle was speeding and weaving around the other drivers in the 3400 block of Blanco Road. This was just before 6 o'clock yesterday evening. He ended up crashing into a driver in a truck who was turning onto Blanco Road. The motorcyclist had several injuries. He was pronounced dead at the scene. We're still trying to learn the man's name.
And police are investigating a shooting on the northwest side where people were hurt. Officers say they were called to the 100 block of Lloyd just before 7 last night. One person was shot 3 times. Another hit once in the hand. The second victim was actually found several miles away on Perez Street. Police say that person took off when the bullet started flying. It's not clear what led up to the shooting, but people who were hit were hospitalized and should be okay.
Some top stories we're following this noon. Police still investigating a murder on the northeast side more than 2 weeks after the victim was shot. Still no suspect.
And that's why officers are hoping you can provide some clues for him. Police tell us 46-year-old Leo Thomas Sr. was shot while he was driving back on April 10th. That was near Nacogdoches Road and at Dreamwood Drive. The victim died 8 days later. So far, police aren't sure who pulled the trigger, but they do know the suspect drove off in a silver sedan. If you know anything that can help police with this case, you are asked to call Crime Stoppers at 210-224-STOP. You could get up to $5,000 for information that leads to an arrest.
A homeless man found under a bridge after he was stabbed twice. It happened around 10 o'clock last night just north of downtown on Cameron Street near I-35 and I-10. Police say they had some trouble communicating with the man because they say he was deaf and mute. He was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. SAPD says they had a hard time trying to find the crime scene, and they're now looking for a person who told a nearby security guard about that stabbing.
And a man recovering after he was shot twice outside of an apartment building on the north side. Police say it happened just before 1 a.m. in the 1500 block of West Bitters. Officers say 3 witnesses helped the man after one of them heard gunshots. The witnesses told police they did not know the man. Officers tell us they found several shell casings and a stolen vehicle at the scene. Police say the man who was shot was seen driving that vehicle at some point. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition.
We now know the name of the man who was killed over the weekend during a 3-vehicle crash on the far north side. The medical examiner's office identifying him as Gilbert Mendoza. San Antonio police say Mendoza was in a motorcycle heading northbound on Highway 281 near Bulverde when he and his passenger slammed into an SUV around 2 Sunday afternoon. That SUV then reportedly crashed into a vehicle in front of it. Mendoza was pronounced dead at the scene. His female passenger taken to University Hospital. Her condition remains unknown. Right now, police are still investigating what led to this crash.
City Council and Bexar County Commissioners Court meeting this afternoon to discuss the local response to the coronavirus. This comes after Governor Greg Abbott announced his plans to reopen Texas amid the pandemic. The meeting is expected to start around 1 this afternoon. Mayor Ron Nierenberg and Bexar County Judge Nelson Wolf are expected to make adjustments to the city and county's orders since Governor Abbott will not renew stay-at-home orders. Council members and commissioners will also hear from the COVID-19 health transition team. We'll be live streaming the briefing on KSAT.com again at 1 o'clock. And in Bexar County, we're seeing a rise in coronavirus cases and deaths. There are now 1,275 confirmed cases of COVID-19. The death toll has increased by just 1. A total of 44 deaths now, and 59 are in the hospital. 531 have recovered from the illness, but hundreds more still have the virus. More than 20,000 people have been tested so far.
The federal government now gearing up its efforts to test more Americans for COVID-19. State governors are now being given a blueprint for large capacity testing. ABC's Trevor Ault has the latest from New York.
America's governors say if they're going to reopen their businesses, they need more testing. The White House now releasing a plan touted as a blueprint to do just that. And administration officials saying the goal is to give governors the ability to test 2% of their residents per month.
We know that we can supply those states with the full supply chain, the swabs, the media, the testing capability to achieve those goals.
But the responsibility for testing still falls on the states, and critics say the plan doesn't offer ways to fix the administration or expansion of lab testing. And Vice President Pence pressed by ABC's Jonathan Karl about his statement 4 million tests would be ready back in March.
Now, what lessons have you learned from the mistakes over the last month and a half or so?
John, I appreciate the question, but it represents a misunderstanding on your part and frankly a lot of people in the public's part about the difference between having a test versus the ability to actually process the test.
So when you said 4 million tests 7 weeks ago, you were just talking about tests being sent out, not actually being completed? I'm a little confused.
John, I think they're precisely correct.
Rite Aid, CVS, and Walgreens are also trying to ramp up the availability of testing. City MD Urgent Care will now offer COVID-19 nasal swab tests to patients showing symptoms who couldn't get a test elsewhere. And Quest Diagnostics has now launched an antibody test that consumers can buy and then schedule an appointment to have blood drawn. The popular over-the-counter heartburn drug famotidine, the active ingredient in Pepcid, is being given to some patients at New York's Northwell Health at 9 times the strength intravenously, though medical officials warn this is far from a proven treatment.
And I really worry when we hear these anecdotal reports of one patient was helped, one patient felt better. In medicine and science, we base our decisions based on hundreds and thousands of patients, so not ready for prime time yet.
And research also suggests Americans are starting to suffer from quarantine fatigue. A study from the University of Maryland tracking anonymous cell phone data showed recently social distancing has reached its lowest level since March 20th. Trevor Ault, ABC News, New York.
KSAT wanted to know how San Antonians are feeling amid the coronavirus pandemic. After the break, a breakdown of answers from polls surveyed by 650 members of the community.
And the Spurs could be headed back to the practice floor slowly and just a few at a time, but still headed back. That's coming up in sports.
Bare Facts are a joint effort between us here at KSAT, the Rivard Report, and factbarefacts.org to poll members of our community and ask them about issues here in Bexar County.
In this edition of Bare Facts, more than 650 registered voters were polled, and the root of many of the questions, the effects of the pandemic.
Max Massey shows us our community has a lot to say, and they have mixed feelings about what we're dealing with and what comes next.
In this edition of Bare Facts, we asked members of our community a variety of questions, ranging from approval ratings of our elected officials who have been in charge during this pandemic to the well-being of the families here. So let's take a look at some of the questions and some of the answers that we got. Things that respondents have experienced during this pandemic. 33% responding saying that they have lost a significant amount of their household income, 9% saying that they've put off paying rent or mortgage, 10% saying they've put off paying student loans, another 10% saying that they have relied on assistance from food banks, Salvation Army, or other nonprofits. And what people are looking forward to. 26% of people responding saying that they are looking most forward to socializing with their friends and their family. 14% say that they are most excited for eating out. 11% say that they are most excited for exercising, and 10% telling us that they are most excited for going back to work. The last category, 7% of those responding say that they are most excited to attend religious services. Now, those are just some of the questions that we asked. We asked a variety, and if you want to look into these numbers, we have all that information for you right now. Just head to KSAT.com. Reporting downtown, Max Massey, KSAT 12 News.
And coming up today at 2:30, Steve Spreester will host a live stream with some of the folks from Bare Facts and the Rivard Report. They will be diving deeper into what the poll results mean.
Live look outside with Live Cam. We got a pretty day on tap. That sun finally came out, Sarah.
Yeah, the sun came out, but the humidity today, man, we are going to feel every degree because of the humidity. Now, in spite of the rain that we got last night, the aquifer is actually down 0.7 of a foot. And what we're seeing now is that it's below the monthly average for the first time in a very long time. In the pollen count, because of the rain as well, mold is now high at 1,180 mold spores per cubic meter of air. Grass and pecan are present, but they are low. And we've got a lot to talk about in the forecast, including the potential for some isolated storms tomorrow morning. I'll be back with a look at that forecast coming up.
So, Sarah, I take it what you're saying is when people walk out the door to do their afternoon walk or afternoon leisure activity, they're going to get smacked in the face with some humidity.
Yeah. And bad hair,
and
right?
bad hair, right?
Oh,
in fact,
I tell you, it's like a wet blanket out there.
I know. I stepped out briefly for lunch, and then I had to instantly do my hair again and get that hairspray out. Yeah, the humidity is back in a big way. You know, the last few days, we've had nice, comfortable weather with a low humidity. But you can feel it out there this morning. Humidity is back. In fact, this morning we had some areas of fog. It's 82 degrees outside and winds are from the south at about 15 miles per hour, continuing to funnel in that humidity from the Gulf of Mexico. Humidity at 65% right now. And we've started to shake those morning clouds around San Antonio. You notice, though, that it's completely sunny out toward Del Rio, Eagle Pass, Uvalde, Rock Springs. Zooming into Bexar County, you can pretty much see each individual cumulus cloud from this satellite. It's pretty impressive. A little bit more cloud cover out to the east toward Gonzales, but still we're seeing sun, and that means we're going to warm up even more as we head into the peak heating of the day. We started off in the mid 60s, but right now it's 82 in San Antonio. Notice that it's 79 in Rock Springs, 82 Uvalde, 88 in Carrizo Springs. Already 90 degrees down in Laredo. But again, the big story today is that the humidity is back. Gulf of Mexico humidity with those winds from the south. Notice that dew points are in the 70s down toward Corpus Christi. That means it's oppressively humid, and that's going to continue to increase throughout the afternoon today and into the evening. So we will have a heat index this afternoon. We've got one even right now. It's 82. That's what the thermometer reads, but it feels like 85. You can see that it already feels like 95 104 down in Cotulla, 95 in Laredo. And today, it'll likely feel like 96 when we hit our afternoon high right around 5 p.m. of 90 degrees. We'll have partly cloudy skies for the rest of the day. Into the evening, it'll be comfortable temperature-wise, but it will be muggy. Temperatures will fall into the 70s by midnight, and we'll also see clouds increase back again, so it should be mostly cloudy, if not overcast, by midnight. Now, I want to talk about our weather setup and the potential for a few isolated storms early tomorrow morning. We've got a cold front across the Central Plains, and this is going to make for a busy day across North Texas and parts of East Texas. Here's a look at the Storm Prediction Center. We've got a moderate risk for severe weather, which is pretty high for severe weather for the potential for wind gusts and hail. But again, that's mainly up toward the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We're on the very tail end of this Storm Prediction Center's risk, with only a marginal risk, a 1 on a scale of 1 to 5 for severe weather early tomorrow morning. So I'll take you through the futurecast, and you can see why Dallas-Fort Worth is the area and East Texas is the area with the highest risk for severe weather. That's where a line of storms is going to develop by late tonight, close to midnight. Then as we head into early Wednesday morning, we're going to see this line of storms try to push towards San Antonio. But really the best areas to get a chance for thunderstorms are going to be up toward Austin and out east of I-35, closer to Gonzales and closer to the Houston area. This would be about pre-dawn tomorrow morning. And as I take you through time, we're really going to be on the tail end of this system here in San Antonio. So the chance for storms tomorrow morning in San Antonio right around 7 o'clock is only 30%. Low chance there for some storms. After that, dry air will be moving in place, and it'll actually be a very beautiful Wednesday without the humidity that we're seeing today. So humid today with just a small chance for an off chance for a small shower in the afternoon. But again, tomorrow morning we'll be watching out for the potential for storms. As we close out the week, it'll be warm, but it won't be humid. Mornings in the 50s, afternoons in the upper 80s, really pleasant. The humidity, however, does return by the weekend. Ursula, David?
Oh, good.
Yeah. Got to talk about the good and the bad, right?
Well, you know, the way things are going, all those guys can't get a haircut. We may get to enjoy one of those.
I like the
bad
longer hair. I think it looks great.
All right. Maybe I'll have a bad hair day one day then. Hey, players for the Spurs could be hitting the practice court pretty soon. Only a few at a time, though, but still, that's the start. And the Texans getting some praise for their draft over this past weekend. We got that for you coming up. The NBA may not be back. Step in the right direction with the announcement by Greg Abbott yesterday, the governor, to start the reopening of Texas during the COVID pandemic. The Spurs will be able to take advantage of it. They'll be one of the benefactors of the decision. The NBA announcing that training facilities in states not under further restrictions like Texas can reopen as early as next Friday, May 8th. Players can report on a voluntary basis and no group workouts will be allowed, but the facilities will be open. One thing the league officials are cautious about is not giving any teams a leg up on a possible return to play. The Spurs have not suited up on the court since their 119-109 victory back on March 10th, and they missed a total of 19 games before the playoffs were set to begin. Last weekend, there was already a report that it would take at least 25 days to restart the league, but the first step would be getting players back into facilities for individual workouts. So here's a look at those restrictions as they open the practice facility. No more than 4 players in the facility at a time. No coaches can participate. Group activities prohibited, and players cannot use non-team facilities like health clubs or fitness centers or gyms.
Pro football coverage powered by Davis Law Firm.
There's a first for everything. The Houston Texans made Laramie Tunsil the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL, and he is finally talking. Remember, he was traded to Texans before the start of the 2019 season. It was a deal with the Miami Dolphins that included 2 first-round draft picks going to Miami, and that's why the Texans didn't have a first-round pick in past weekend's draft. But before the draft even started, the Texans negotiated a new contract extension with Tunsil that will pay him $66 million over 3 years with $50 guaranteed. And get this, Tunsil negotiated his own deal.
It's a blessing just to be the highest paid offensive lineman. You know, you always dream of times like this. and we got it done, especially not having an agent doing the deal by yourself and getting it done is extremely a blessing. With any negotiation, it was pretty tough. You know, they came at me in February trying to give me an extension, and we just got a deal done a couple of days ago. So it was tough, but we got it done, and it was fun just to be in that moment and to learn different things.
Hey, the Texans got praise for that deal with Miami, and even without the first-round pick, they were getting some positive reaction for the first draft conducted by Bill O'Brien as the team's new general manager and head coach. His plan going into the draft was to shore up that leaky defense, especially after being run out of the playoffs by the Kansas City Chiefs when they blew that 24-point lead. With his first pick, he chose defensive tackle Ross Blacklock out of TCU to replace nose tackle DJ Reader, who the Texans lost to the Bengals in free agency. O'Brien also used one of 2 fourth-round picks to select cornerback John Reed from Penn State, who has 125 tackles and 7 interceptions in 4 seasons with the Nittany Lions. They needed to fill a vacancy at that position after saying goodbye to 14-year veteran Jonathan Joseph. For O'Brien and Reed, it's kind of a reunion.
I've known John for a while. When I was at Penn State, he was a sophomore in high school and came to our camp, and I think we offered him a scholarship right there. Really smart guy, comes from a great family. But I think he can do both. I think he can play on the inside, and I also think that he'll help us on special teams. You know, so I thought that was another guy that we felt really good about, that we had targeted and we were really hoping would be there, and he was there.
Let's hope we get to see him on the field eventually.
One day,
I hope.
We'll see football again.
I hope.
Still ahead in our next half hour, Google wants to make the pandemic more enjoyable for people when you can expect that new online games it's releasing.
Plus, more details on a team of professionals coming together to fight COVID-19. Millions of small business owners looking to get help from the government have been given a setback again.
It's because the application site for the Paycheck Protection Program has been plagued with technical problems. ABC's Alex Prescia has the details.
The new round of government funding, $310 billion poured into the Paycheck Protection Program for small businesses, got off to a rocky start. The online loan application process plagued with technical issues. There's already a massive backlog after the first round of funding ran out in just 13 days. Several publicly traded companies accessed those funds, leaving small businesses without any aid. This second PPP was supposed to fix that. In California, comic book store owner Joe Field has been trying to get a loan for weeks.
Funding is going to help pay for some of the expenses that we've incurred through this, but it's not going to get anywhere close to paying for all the losses that we've incurred.
The PPP, part of a renewed push to reopen America, coming straight from the president.
There's a hunger for getting our country back, and it's happening.
A growing number of states taking the president's advice, trying to get businesses and employees back to work.
We're working diligently to get South Carolina back to work, to take us to where we were before and beyond, but we must do so safely.
Even though some companies are legally able to open, they're choosing not to.
We don't feel safe. Number one is safety.
Trying to avoid sites like this. From an American Airlines flight from New York to Charlotte, there was about 85% full. American, United, and Delta are now mandating masks for flight attendants. JetBlue taking it a step further, also requiring masks for customers during travel. Also, some United Auto workers are returning to work Monday at some Ford and GM plants with new safety protocols in place, temperature checks, and social distancing. Work has been idle since mid-March due to COVID-19 concerns. Alex Perche, ABC News, Washington.
For the first time, Ohio will hold an election that's almost completely done by mail. It will offer other states lessons on how to conduct one amid the coronavirus crisis. The primary could also provide a preview of a November election that might still be affected by the virus. Rather than focusing on the actual nominees, the spotlight has shifted to the process. Voters who don't receive a ballot can vote in person.
The president of the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games says if the pandemic is not over by next summer, the Tokyo Summer Games will be canceled. In an interview, he was asked what would happen if coronavirus was still an issue by next summer. He responded bluntly, without hesitation, saying it would be canceled. The Olympics and Paralympic Games set to be held this summer in Tokyo are rescheduled for July 23rd, 2021.
Outside with Live Cam, this is one of those days where the temperature's in the low 80s, but it feels a little warmer than that because of
the humidity, David. That's true. Yeah, it's humid outside. And you know what? The sun is just going to make it even hotter and the humidity is going to rise. So we're in for a bit of an uncomfortable afternoon. But hey, we're South Texans. We're used to this, right? Let's take a look at the satellite imagery. And as you can see, we are starting to see those clouds clear away. Off to the west, though, it's completely sunny out toward Del Rio, Uvalde, Rock Springs, Eagle Pass, and Cotulla. But around San Antonio, you can see those puffy cumulus clouds in place. And they will continue to, kind of start to disperse a little bit. And we'll see even more sun into the later hours of the afternoon. Right now, though, it is 82 degrees at the airport. It's 76 up in Kerrville, 79 in Rock Springs, even warmer down toward Cotulla and Laredo along I-35, 90 degrees in Laredo, 86 in New Braunfels, and 83 in Gonzales. Today, we're going to have a heat index around San Antonio right around 96 degrees. But as you can see, it'll feel like it's in the triple digits elsewhere, like near Pleasanton, Carrizo Springs, Cotulla, and in Laredo. So yes, it's going to be a very warm day. And then our attention will turn to the potential for some storms early tomorrow morning. It's really mainly the eastern Oklahoma and Dallas-Fort Worth area that's really under the gun for severe weather later on tonight and early tomorrow morning. But we'll be tracking those storms carefully as they head toward southeastern Texas by early tomorrow morning, because again, we'll have a small chance for some thunderstorms near San Antonio. I'll be back to talk about those details and give you a forecast timeline in just a few minutes. David?
Thanks, Sarah. There is a new team focused on developing drugs and vaccines in the fight against COVID-19. CNN's Mandy Gaither has more for us.
It's a public and private sector partnership aimed at fighting this pandemic and future ones. The National Institutes of Health and 16 pharmaceutical companies have teamed up, hoping to standardize how drugs and vaccines are evaluated and share resources to quickly test them. The NIH says it will provide the framework for prioritizing vaccine and drug candidates, streamline clinical trials, coordinate regulatory processes, and leverage assets among partners to rapidly respond to COVID-19 and future pandemics. More than 100 different drugs and vaccines are currently being evaluated for their potential to combat COVID-19. None are yet approved. The new network is meant to assure that they are tested and assessed in a coordinated way. One goal of the group is to more widely share access to screening facilities and labs where scientists can safely and effectively test potential COVID-19 drugs. The NIH says they can contribute a network of clinical trials for treatment and vaccines for a range of diseases from cancer to HIV. For today's Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
The Jose Cuervo Tequila Company wants to pay for your Cinco de Mayo meals as a way to encourage people to stay inside. Today, still ahead, how you can enter this contest. We have some late-breaking news from Comal County, and the pictures here are unbelievable. We are hearing reports of a small plane crash in Canyon Lake, and these are the pictures that we're getting. A witness telling us the people on board this plane got out before it went under, and they swam to shore. So it appears there were no injuries.
Another witness, who happens to be a pilot, was in the air, and he sent us these photos shortly after it happened, which was a little before noon. Now, we were told the plane went down near the lodge. We do not know what led to the plane crashing, but we do have a crew on the way, and we will have some more information for you online and on the air this afternoon at 5. Wow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
In your consumer news, Southwest Airlines reported its first quarterly loss in years. Southwest sold only 6% of its seats to paying passengers in April. The airline has accepted help from the U.S. Treasury to stay aloft in the form of a $2.3 billion grant and a low-interest loan of $948 million. Southwest CEO Gary Kelly says he does expect demand for air travel to rebound.
And if you are looking for the perfect online distraction during the pandemic, the popular Google Doodle games are back. For the next 2 weeks, Google is going to feature a popular game from a past Doodle every day. Google launching a new series of 10 doodles. Each one is a callback to one of the company's popular games. There's going to be something for everyone from kids to multiplayer games.
If you're planning on ordering takeout for Cinco de Mayo this year, Jose Cuervo might have you covered. As part of the new initiative to encourage people to stay home, Jose Cuervo will cover the cost of thousands of takeout orders by refunding people for the cost of their meals. The contest starts today. It ends May 5th. Of course, to participate, you have to tweet a picture of your taco meal receipt to Jose Cuervo's Twitter page and include the hashtags Cinco de Go and Cuervo Contest.
And KSAT Community is partnering with United Way of San Antonio and Bexar County in the community-wide Thankathon virtual campaign. It is for people who want to thank those on the front lines of the coronavirus pandemic, from healthcare professionals, first responders, teachers, grocery and food service workers, even small business employees. It's a chance for you to thank them all. To participate, just go to KSAT.com and click on KSAT Community under the Features tab.
And we do want to express thanks. We are so grateful for the hard work of our medical personnel, and we're hoping we don't need them to be busy.
Absolutely. And the weather today is really going to do a doozy on your sinuses if you're allergic to mold. Mold is high at 1,180, and the reason for the increase in mold is because of the rainfall yesterday. We received just about under 0.2 of an inch of rain at the airport in San Antonio. Pecan and grass, they're present, but they're low. And in spite of the rainfall, the aquifer is down 0.7 of a foot over the past 24 hours. And for the first time in a long time, it's actually below the monthly average. So we'll be watching the aquifer closely, and we'll also be watching the radar closely tomorrow morning for the potential for some storms. I'll have a forecast for you about those storms coming up in a few minutes.
If you've been outside today, you know the struggle is real. It is a humid day out there.
The humidity is very high. Hey, did you guys wake up from the storms last night?
I actually did.
Yeah.
It kind of surprised me a little bit, and the thunder and the lightning. Wow.
Yeah.
Lightning came right through the window. I got in there, but
oh my goodness, dude.
like right there.
Right. Wow. It passes through windows. But we did have some storms yesterday that moved in from the Del Rio area. They really survived the long trek from Del Rio to San Antonio, but they did fizzle out quite substantially. You can see there was one storm that moved closer to San Antonio, and then another storm that dropped some rain southwest of San Antonio. Here's a look at those rainfall totals. At the airport, about 0.2 of an inch of rain, which is really good for just a passing thunderstorm. Now out toward Lake Amistad and Kickapoo Caverns, a little bit more than half an inch of rainfall recorded in Hondo and near Pearsall as well. Right now outside, though, even though we started off with clouds, we're completely seeing some sunshine here. It is a little hazy. You can really see that humidity on the horizon, and it's 82 degrees, mostly cloudy, humidity at 65%, and we're seeing a steady wind from the south at about 15 miles per hour. That's going to continue to really bring in this rich Gulf of Mexico moisture. You can see that dew points are in the 70s. Closer to the Gulf of Mexico, almost at 70 degrees here in San Antonio. Whenever we get dew points in the 70s, that's when it's a bad hair day outside. That's when you walk outside and you can feel almost that wall of water, that humidity in the air. And it's really going to impact our afternoon feel-like temperatures. We should have a heat index this afternoon. And as you can see, even these cumulus clouds that are around San Antonio right now are starting to disperse a little bit. So we're going to have mostly sunny skies at some point in the afternoon. That's just going to allow the thermometer to rise. 82 right now in San Antonio, 86 in New Braunfels, 85 Gonzales, 84 in Pleasant, but it's already 90 degrees in Carrizo Springs and in Laredo. So for the rest of the day, just know that we're going to have some sun, 90 degrees for the high, but again, it should feel a lot warmer than that. It'll be humid tonight and cloudy by midnight. And the afternoon, again, that 90 degrees should feel more like 96, and we'll even have some triple-digit feel-like temperatures out there, especially southwest to San Antonio, toward Carrizo Springs, toward Cotulla, and even toward Pleasanton. So a very warm day today with the humidity in place. You can see that there are storms going on near the Houston area, but those will continue to move on off to the east. Our attention is going to turn to a cool front up in the Central Plains right now, and this is going to spark off some thunderstorms, especially for areas in eastern Oklahoma up toward Dallas, Fort Worth, and out to the Arklatex area. That's where they're expecting a really good chance for some damaging severe weather today. We're on the tail end of this system. Here's what's going to happen. This cool front is going to spark off those storms around the Dallas-Fort Worth area around midnight. And then overnight, those are going to try to push to the south and to the east. The better chance for rain by far is going to be well east of I-35 toward the Houston area. But we'll keep our eye on that because, as is often the case, we're on the tail end of this system. So early tomorrow morning, about pre-dawn, we've only got about a 30% chance for isolated storms around San Antonio. After that, it'll be nice and sunny tomorrow in the afternoon. And here's the key. It won't be humid tomorrow in the afternoon. So it should feel great with that high near 86. Again, we'll be keeping our eyes on the radar early tomorrow morning for some isolated storms. It'll be nice through the end of the week with low humidity. Even some low humidity on Saturday, but humidity should be back by Sunday when we'll be in the low 90s. We'll be right back.